well, Patricia, O'Connor, and Frida, Reba, Darcy here today on the Bonsai Balcony. We have ourselves a, look at that, absolutely beautiful day. And I have set up on our table our Cork Bark Oak. Here is my sidekick partner in crime, so to speak, Frida, Reba, Darcy in the house, and I got a few tools standing by. We're gonna do a little bit of prune back on summer cutback on my Cork Bark Oak and also on my cypress trees, but for entirely different reasons. I have a few tools standing by today. Just a couple of things I grabbed. I grabbed a pair of long tweezers in case I need them. Don't think I will. Grabbed a pair of pliers and a box cutter and my Japanese scissors. And what I am here about to do is I want to cut back a few more ends of new growth on this guy. But also, we have compromises because we're on a balcony. Part of this deal about being the bonsai balcony is that I don't have an enormous space. I don't have an enormous amount of upkeep. I don't have the back 40 to mow. I've got a small place that I can decorate and show my personality with, and it comes with a small balcony. So we don't have a big backyard for which to have a big Japanese garden, but we do get a balcony. And what I've been trying to do here for the last several years is to discover ways to enable trees to thrive on a balcony environment. What if I lost this apartment and I had one window? Then I would probably go with some sort of grow light and 3 of my favorite trees. It wouldn't be 100 like I have now, but it would be 3 of my favorite trees and a balcony. In my window and probably a grow light or something. But one of the compromises that I have to do, y'all saw earlier this year, I alluded to the fact that I may have slowed down. This may have nothing to do with it also, but I may have slowed down my air layer when I pruned back this trident maple. This trident maple had limbs way up here where I'm showing and way over here into these other trees. It was flagging the other trees. And as much as I want to allow for everyone and try to maximize the amount of light that everyone gets, I do need to balance that with not allowing somebody to get over dominant over somebody else. And to that end, I've been saying all year that I'm not going to do a whole lot of pruning back on these bald cypress trees. The idea is to let them flush out even more stuff than we want. But it's in the flushing out and the growing and in the increased amount of energy that we get from all those limbs and all those leaves and all that photosynthesis that these trunks become fatter and fatter and fatter in a relatively short amount of time. This is something that we worked on with power tools just here recently, and you can see our rollover has already covered up that work. But when we go out here, what I see is these cypress limbs that I'm not planning on, for the most part. The rule is I'm not going to cut these back until they drop their foliage. And until then, when that happens, then I will go through, I will make decisions as to what stays and what goes. And the stuff that stays gets pruned back to a usable length so that it can bifurcate off, and the stuff that goes. So right now, what I'm looking at, what would break that rule? What would break that rule is things that are causing me problems, and I mean problems right now. I'm not going to get rid of a bar branch just because it's a bar branch. It's not causing me problems right now. This fall, I'll make a decision as to which one of those guys stays, for instance. But however, if I did start to see that I was getting a huge knot right here or something, then yeah, I'd have to go back through and make my no bar branches or my no threes decision. But what I'm going to be pruning back today is the things that are beginning to flag my ponderosas and my other little pines here on the rail. This cypress gets the Mac Daddy placement when it comes to how much light is doled out from my artificial lights overhead, and those guys do put out an enormous amount of light. It is enough for sun hungry, and they're getting the majority of it, probably more so than any other 3 trees, and which is fine, and that is what we want, and that keeps them vigorous and happy. But then their branches start going out here. They're using the energy that they get from above to grow extra branches along out here, and then those branches are double dipping. And by double dipping, I mean they're getting the sunlight and they're getting the overhead, which is kind of unfortunate when it comes to these guys because they're flagging off those guys. So it would make sense at this stage of the game to start chopping these guys back. But hold on. I'm also going to at some point make a decision as to which one of those branches come and go. And I might just look at it now and make that decision if I'm going to keep something, or if it looks like I'm going to keep something, I'm not going to cut it back there where it's offending me. I'll cut it back here where I want it to vibricate off. Goodness knows if I cut it back here and it vibricates off way out here, that's way too late. That's way later than what I'm going to want. What I'm going to want later if I were to make a decision to keep this. If I were to make a decision to keep this branch, it would get cut off back here and vibricate off. So we'll do that. That's not a guarantee that I'm going to keep it. But given the fact that it could be a keeper, I cut it off there instead of out there where it was offending me. Because if it's going to vibricate off, let it vibricate off here where it could be helpful. And not waste that energy doing it out there where I would just cut it back a second time. So that's kind of what's going on there. I'm not sure I'm going to keep all of these or not keep all of these. I'm not really even going to make that hard and fast decision until I start pruning back the rest of the tree and I see how those decisions would affect the balance of the whole makeup, right? So in a way, to decide that now is to not be looking at the whole big picture. Let's start pruning the whole thing back when it comes time to prune the whole thing back, and then I'll make my decisions as to whether those come or go. But right now, the ones that are getting too long, I have cut them back in a manner that would say that is a good place to chop them if we were going to keep them. I would also expect those guys to vibricate out this summer. Hello, pretties. Hello. I'll be done here in a minute. Yeah, I got some water and some peanuts for you guys. I'll be done here in just a minute. So that's all. No big change in plans. We're still pretty much keeping up with the part that we said we would always keep up with. Another part of maintenance, I had to raise this part of the shelf. I noticed it was dipping. I don't know if I miscounted the lines when I built the shelf or whether or not I built it on a slope and built it that way. I don't remember now. But when I took off this heavy thing, that gave me a opportunity to rebalance that. So that got done a little while ago. This just got clipped out in front of you with the how and why we did that. The rest of this stuff, as I have said before, will be allowed to continue to grow. Some of this stuff is the stuff that got damaged when our rack came down. We cut a new top here this spring. We cut a new top here this spring, and we cut a new top there this spring. We added wire to those four tops, 1, 2, 4. And stuck them straight up. This one looks like it'll be next to need to get unwired and rewired. And by that, I mean, I don't want the wire swelling up and causing tracks in there. It does it really fast on cypress trees. But I want to keep those tops straight. So what I'll do is I'll unwrap that almost to the base, clamp it at the base with my thumb and index finger, and then rewrap it, just making sure that I do it in not to go back in the original tracks and to let those tracks heal over. So that's pretty much a catch-up on our Bald Cypress. Other than that, they're looking fabulous. We're feeling fabulous about what's going on with them. Now, the last time I did a little prune back on this Cork Bark Oak, it coincided with a article that I'd gotten in the mail. In my email from Bonsai Tonight in regards to his pruning of his Cork Bark Oak, and I included that blog in the comments in the about section of the video for those who would be interested in Jonas's teachings over at Bonsai Tonight. Ironically enough, I said that we would be doing this. I said that we would be doing this last week. I said that we would be doing this in our near future, coming up in the next couple of shows. And lo and behold, we also saw Jonas has dropped another video about his midsummer cork bark pruning. And his take was more about doing this on the upper branches, allowing more light to get down to the bottom. I believe his cork bark was more of a conventional oak design than log here. But what he had is he had a lot of elongating branches out here. A lot of his stuff was really, and he allowed that to stay long while he cut back all the stuff that was quite a bit longer up here. I see spider mites. Actually, I don't see them. I see their handiwork. I wish I'd have bought the bullet and got some ladybugs. I think that those little vivacious ladies can go through some predators like nobody's business. Probably a good time to maybe go through here, wipe down these leaves a little bit. It'll take a little while to do, but oak leaves do not like, they will burn. If you water them, they will burn. They will get sunspots. They will burn. If you see that you need to treat them with something and you treat them with something and it's wet, it'll be hard to tell what's treated and what's not, because what I've found is I wreck as much by leaving residue on the leaves as whatever it was that was originally causing us problems. There wasn't as much prune back on here. I think that's because I brought it direct out of the direct sunlight and put it more into the artificial lights. It might like the direct punch a little stronger. But then too, it always gets a little drier on whatever side faces the outside. It gets watered more thoroughly, evenly all the way around. When it's on the shelf, it's a lot easier for me to water. I'm not seeing a whole lot of that. It looks like we may have bit the bullet a little bit. Got BioGold on everything. We're starting to, get our treatment of BioGold out on all of our guys. I'm just going through, making sure everything looks clean while I'm here. This has been a very, very rewarding tree to grow. Last summer, I had a little bit of issue with more dieback, which I made worse, which is what I had alluded to earlier about reluctance to spray the leaves with anything. I think I would be more, having gone through that again last year, I'd be more inclined to go through with like soapy water or something on a rag and wipe individual affected leaves. Kind of not leaving them wet, but leaving them, you know, wiped down with soapy water, but not leaving them with like water droplets on them and stuff. I think that would be more beneficial than what I did last time, which was last time they got a heavy dose of neem. I think I let the neem get too concentrated, and when I sprayed it down with that, I made it a lot worse. Not as much to go this time around. It could have been a little more, but we are on top of it, and the tree is responding very nicely. Whenever we cut the tips back on this guy, what it does is it releases a chemical called auxin, and that abundance of auxin, which accumulates in the tips, when it loses that tells other parts of the tree that it is time to run, it is time to make new branches and new leaves, and there could be a new apex in the making. So all the parts of the tree just start busting out with new energy to see if they can be the one to be the new treetop. And that's kind of what happens when you cut your tips back. Gone are the days, seemingly, of me having a cork bark oak that has a little poof of foliage on the end and nothing farther back. The remedy to that was feeding, more watering than I'd been giving it before, and pruning, multiple prunings a year. That causes it to bifurcate off and to make more branches and to keep everything tighter instead of letting everything go really super long. My coastal oak back there, I will let it go long and cut it back, sort of like I do my cypress at the end of year. It's also an evergreen. But this one, if I let it do that, it would just octopus out where all the branches would be too thick and too heavy back at the base where I'd want to cut them back to. So I amend that and give this a chop back once or twice in the summer. That also gives us a jump on the amount of bifurcation we get from this guy, and that's good. Instead of waiting all year, cutting everything back and then getting twos, I'll get twos, fours, and eights before we ever go to fall. And this thing is an evergreen, so it'll keep going after that. I want to cut that cleaner. So it'll keep going after that. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. This was just a little short little ditty where I'm just kind of cleaning this guy up a little bit. It is a heavy tree. I was also glad I was able to get that shelf a little better than level. I didn't like the way it was tipping. I worried that it would lose ground. That's one of those honeydew shelves. I like those. We sell those, and I've had those before I got in this. Before I was ever in the hardware business, and I saw these on our floor. I had these in my kitchen before. Those shelves, like the ones that I have. They work good for kitchens, and they work good for plants, and you could even take like what I've done and put baking trays underneath them to catch the water, and they can be configured in all kind of ways. All right, I'm not here to sell shelving, but that was. Like and subscribe if you guys haven't already. Our next spot will be this weekend when we start doing stuff. We'll probably do a show on Saturday, and then we'll probably do like we do. You know how we do our Saturday night live bonsai on Saturday night, live on Saturday night. Funny how we named it that. And I appreciate you, and Frida appreciates you, and thank you so much for being a part of our balcony and of our program and of our life at Bonsai, I have derived more joy from Bonsai these past 3 years than in any other undertaking I've done. And I've done a lot. I would say I've done my share of cool things. I've been lucky that way. And this is it. This is, to me, this is some of the best of it. And yeah. Thank you so much for watching.